in the name of the Ainu or Masawa Negroes, the original ancestors of the Japanese. Is in the name of black people that populated the whole world, because in ancient time, the whole world belonged to the black man and the black woman. There were no white people, there were no Chinese, there were no Indians, there was no other people. It was just us. From the original Australopithecines, 5.5 million years, to the next Homo habilis, 3.5 million years, to the African Homo erectus, whose bones were discovered in Nalia Katome, near Lake Turkana, known as the Turkana boy, 1.5 million years, and to the modern man, Homo sapien, us. We were the only people on earth. Can you imagine how beautiful that is?
Asante sana!
So, in the name of the African people that built the civilizations of ancient Kemet, what we now call Egypt, what the Greeks called Ekupata, in the name of Ra-Mesu, known as Ramses, in the name of Khufu, in the name of Mankara, in the name of Zosa, in the name of African people that founded ancient Greece, in the name of Agamemnon, in the name of Shushan-Kunta and his Russia's son Isumunuza, in the name of African people that populated America before Columbus, in the name of Zumbi, of Bahia and Barmaris. And recently, in the name of African great heroes and sheroes, in the name of Sankara, in the name of Nkrumah, in the name of Lumumba, in the name of Shaka Zulu, in the name of Nandi, in the name of Winnie Matikazela, in the name of Mugabe, in the name of Demabio, known as Garang. And in the name and in your name, I say to you, let him that is worthy be worthy still. Let him that is righteous be righteous still. Behold, I come quickly. My reward is with me to give unto every black man and black woman fall, and according to his reward should be. In the beginning was a black woman. Never was a time when black people were not, because this woman gave rise to all human. So never was a time when black people were not, and never will be time when black people will cease to be. Because we are eternal, my brothers and sisters. I thank you, Sehotep, which means peace, and you may sit down. So I will first make a presentation, and we can have an African interaction. So you may cry, you may jump, you might curse, you may throw a stick at me. I am well known in martial arts, but be prepared to receive it back if you do that. And then afterwards, we shall have an African exchange. You may ask questions if you have questions. The worst thing I hate is to give a presentation and nobody asks. So, I can't say I'm happy to be here because I was kidnapped by the commissioner. I was on my way to Harare, actually heading for the plane. And then she told me that I need to come and speak to you. I finished lecturing about 5 years ago. I don't teach anymore. I'm not interested in teaching. I taught for 30 years. And I think that one who has not heard what I teach doesn't deserve to hear. I am also not very optimistic like most other people. One of the things about my lectures is that if I teach and people are throwing things and cursing and telling me they never invite me again, then I know they got the point. But if they say, yeah, it was nice, we liked really hearing what you are saying, then I know they really didn't understand. And I'm not thinking an understanding, I'm thinking an overstanding. So let me establish first things first. Number one, I don't lecture until I have talked about what we call melanin. How many of you know what melanin is? Put up your hand if you know what melanin is. Okay, there are a few. So, I want everybody to touch his hand like this. Yeah? Touch your hand. What you are touching is what they call epidermal melanin, the outer skin of a black person. Melanin is the most important thing on Earth. Melanin is responsible for a lot of things. Melanin is a carbon that doesn't deteriorate over time. Melanin is produced by an enzyme called melatonin. Melatonin. If you have not heard of melatonin, you've heard it now. Please write it. It's MELATONIN. Melatonin. You will find, if you search melatonin, over 1 million products produced out of melatonin. This black skin pigmentation is produced by an enzyme called melatonin. For melatonin to produce melanin, it needs a catalyst enzyme, which we call tyrosine 7. Tyrosine 7. So, melanin, melatonin, and tyrosine 7. If you have no tyrosine 7, you can't have black skin. You can pray, you can sing, you can ask God, but it's bad luck. So, you need tyrosine 7 to work with melatonin, produce melanin. Melanin is responsible for a lot of things. Number one, melanin is responsible, it protects you against the ultraviolet rays of the sun and the energy from the earth. So if you are standing here like me with some white and Chinese and lightning struck, it will pick a white person, throw him over there, and you'll remain standing blessed of the sun because of your melanin. That's number one, protects you against the ultraviolet rays of the sun. Melanin also controls fatigue. You don't get tired, you don't get jet lag. Melanin controls healing. So that if, for example, you cut yourself, and when your body is bleeding and then it dries, what announces the fact that you are about to heal is when you start seeing that part which was red or a different color begin to darken down. Also, it means that you can live in a shack. You know, I went to your toilets. They smell, smelly. You know, because of your melanin, you can stand the stench. Yeah? Now, melanin controls fatigue, it controls healing, it protects you against the ultraviolet rays of the sun. Also, melanin controls aging process. Those of you, example I can use, those of you who knew Bill Clinton and his wife, or even Joe Biden, or when you see them now, they are gone. But a black woman at age 80, she still looks like she's 60. That's melanin. In fact, they say black women don't ripen until they are 45, 50. But white people by the age of 27, they've done it. Now, the most important thing about melanin is that melanin gives you dominant genes. How many of you study biology? Put up your hands. Those who study biology. Okay, are you familiar with a character called Gregor Mendel? You know Mendel? Okay, in what regard? Tell me. Yes, inherited characteristics. Mendel was living in Austria, you know, and at the time, white people were trying to establish that they were the first people to populate the world. And they said, Mendel, you know, you find evidence. And Mendel started working with chickens and goats and whatever, looking at what characteristic we inherit from our ancestor. And at the end of 23 years of study, Mendel concluded, because Mendel is the father of molecular biology, he concluded that if you had begun with white people, you would never get a black person. Because a recessive gene, which is white, can never produce a dominant gene. I'm here to tell you today that black people have dominant genes. And I'm afraid white people have recessive genes. I have nothing to do with it. Nothing. But no two white chicken can produce a black chicken. No two white goats can produce a black goat. No two white cows can produce a black cow. But man, a black cow can produce a yellow goat, pig goat, whatever kind of goat, rainbow goats, because of melanin. I want you to understand this even if you understand nothing else. Recessive gene and dominant gene. The reason you see all these things happening to black people is because if you intermarried with white people, they would disappear. Because when a white person intermarries with a black person, God forbid, but at birth, and God forbid indeed, at birth, I know most of you are afraid of white people. I know most of you think white people are gods and goddesses. I have seen you go in a restaurant and you are seated there for 10 minutes or 20. And the waiters are looking at you, but when a white person comes, they jump right in front of him and want to serve him. You don't know these things? You don't know that you're establishing national parks just for white people to come and sleep there? How many of you go to national parks? The best, when you go in any city in the world, any city, when you go in the most beautiful place of that city, white people live there. When you go to where windows are broken, toilets don't work, garbage is not collected, who lives there? Yeah, black people. Are you happy with that situation? Do you want to change it? Now listen to me, I'll tell you how. Yeah? Now I haven't started. This is not even a lecture, I'm just introducing myself. So, we are on recessive genes and dominant genes. And I'm telling you, a recessive can never produce a dominant, while a dominant can produce everything. Because I'm also here to tell you today that white people are albinos in biology. In fact, the word white comes from the Latin word albinus, which means white. So if you think white, think albino. You understand? And those of you who study biology, you know there's positive albino and negative albino. Now, let me tell you the source of the problem. The first people to build civilizations, I heard the brother was talking about the epoch and the Stone Age. Said the Stone Age ended. It's not true. The Stone Age didn't end. Yeah. The Stone Age, there are still stones. How can the Stone Age end when there are stones everywhere? And we use them for construction. But we'll get to that. So, let me first establish this. When white people, black people start all this civilization, they are the first people to build a high technical civilization of ancient Egypt that extended up to present-day Zimbabwe. In ancient times, the whole of Africa is called Ethiopia. And when the white people write about us, as in, for example, Herodotus in the histories, he calls us the Ethiopians of Thebes, the tallest, the wisest, the most just of all men. Our civilization lasts over 30, 40, 50,000 years in ancient Egypt. That starts here around the Nile. The Nile Valley civilization. East of the Nile or west of the Nile is called Egypt Superior. West of the Nile is called Egypt Interior. But white people, black people also crossed into Europe. They were the first people to populate Europe, known as Gromordi. The remains of black people, original people of Europe, are in a place called Monte Carlo. In a museum in Monte Carlo. The remains of original Gromordi. So the white people are not the first people to populate Europe. No, you are the first people to populate Europe. You are the first people to populate Britain, called Beaker. You are the first people to populate Ireland, called Flamorians. And you sit here looking like a good morning. Yeah? You are the first people populate Japan. First people to populate Japan were black people. They were called Ainu or Masaba Negroes. Do you know where Masaba is? The Masaba? Mulembe, Kamakuwa Basra, Muganambaganikira Murugisu. Those were the first people. If you look at Japanese names, they're like Ugandan names. Takahara, Nakamura, Kato, Toyota Muro. These are all names. Yes. In Japan, the onions are called temanege. I don't know what that means precisely, but so, listen to this. So, black people established all these civilizations. If you ever go into this tiny little country called England, it calls itself United Kingdom. It's not united. It calls itself Great Britain. Great how? They don't have food. They live in tiny little houses. You know, their garden are almost the size of your chair. And it is in debt. Most European countries are now in debt. You know that? You go on your internet and look for the indebtedness of Italy and Germany and Britain. Italy owes the world $900 trillion. 900 trillion. Britain is even more. They are completely in debt. But they still call themselves great. So when they start traveling around the world, everywhere they go, they meet black people. And they decide, if they intermarry with black people, they will disappear. Because a recessive gene can't produce a dominant gene. So they begin a system of global white supremacy to keep white at the top and black at the bottom. So that black people never dominate the world, black population never increases, and black people never be successful, and black countries never be developed. Do you understand what I'm saying? It might appear strange today, but just remember my words after 30 years. I am telling you that these people sat together because the white population in the world is about 15%. 15%, that is including Latinos. How can so few people rule so many? How? So few people, how can they rule so many? At the time of British colonial rule in Uganda, about 50 white people, British people, ruled Uganda. They can only do it with our consent. And that consent is done through what? Through these universities where you are leaders. A university system is the most destructive for black people. Most destructive. And I have no respect for universities. Zero. Let me tell you something else. What they teach you in universities, because when white people colonize the world, they also colonize the information about the world. Part of what you learn in your systems of education is part of that colonized information. I'll give you an example. How many of you study economics? Put up your hands. Economics. Economics? Hey, you don't want to make money. Only a few of you. But at least you studied economics in high school. How many studied it in high school? Okay. Let me give you a small example. In economics they teach that supply meets demand at an equilibrium to determine what? Yes. They say supply meets demand at an equilibrium to determine price. That's nonsense. It's complete rubbish. Yes. You can write it to pass exams, but if you try it in real life, you'll be a failure. Why? Let me explain. If you are in Rukunjiri, or let's say you are in Isingiro and you have matoke, you want to get the best price, are you going to sell it in Rukunjiri? No. You will want to go to Kampala, isn't it? Yes. Better still, you want to export it, won't you? Yes. Because you will get better money. So, goods move from a low price area to what? A high price area. Huh? Yes. If you produce a sim-sim in Konakamdini, You want to bring it to Kampala to get a better price. But what if you have money and you want to buy Sim? Are you going to buy it in Nakasera? No. You are going to go to Kona Kambini or Kanabra 2, Kona Kapuruprit to get Sim, won't you? Yes. Which means money moves from a high price area to a low price area. Whereas goods move from a low price area to a high price area. They never meet at all. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yes. So, if you follow what they are teaching you in economics, in terms of supply and demand, it's dead on arrival. You are dead already. I'll give you another example. Huh? Yes, sir. Balance of payment. Yes. You know that? Yes, sir. That the country must export more and earn foreign exchange, and it must import less. Haven't I told you that? Yes. In economics. Yes, sir. And you all believe it's true. Yes, sir. Export more and import less. Yes. In fact, according to the IMF, their policy is produce more and earn less. That's IMF. What I call Aymar, what I call F. Yeah? So, now listen to this. Say Uganda produces coffee. Huh? Yes. We produce 1 million bags. Do you know how difficult it is to produce coffee? Yeah. You have to go, you have to dig a big ditch, you have to put manure, you have to buy seedlings, you have to spray so that they don't die. Anyway, eventually you end up with coffee. You sort it, you put it in bags, you send it to the United Snakes of America, for example. Now, when it gets to the United Snakes of America, what will the snakes give you? How do they pay for the coffee? Yeah? No. No, yes. They pay with dollars. Do you know what dollars is? A dollar is a piece of paper with graphics on it. That's what it is. A piece of, how long does it cost to print? They press. They call it a mint. Press. How many? 1 billion. Send it to Uganda. America has done what? Has got in a printer, printed a piece of rubbish called a dollar, and sent it to Uganda. And then Uganda. Coffee. Tezuweze. We send real goods to America, to Britain, whether it is the Portuguese peso, whether it's the Dutch krona, the British pound, it is Greek Nkumba, it is all paper. Now, when Uganda wants to get our paper and buy a jumbo jet using our paper, you know what they say? It's not hard currency. But it's the same paper. No, we don't accept it. Do you understand balance of payment? Do you face it? Yes. Do you understand? Yes. Maybe you overstand. You should overstand instead of understanding, because you've been understanding for a long time. Now you need to overstand, not under the table, on top of the table. We are exchanging. First of all, I need you to understand or understand the money. Money. We never study money in universities. Do you study money? No. You study what money does, but you don't study where it comes from. You know? Do you know that? Yes. Now, do you know that every European currency can buy everything in Uganda? Any, even Arab currencies, like Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, United Arab Emirates, the dirham, they can buy it. If you have it in Uganda, you can go and exchange it. No African currency apart from the South African rand can cross outside, even outside their own country, and buy anything. I trade in Zimbabwe, in South Africa, and Zambia. But I can't use a Ugandan shilling in Zambia. I can't use a Zambian kwacha in Zimbabwe. And I can use a South African rand. No African currency can go outside that country to trade. And I am telling you the reason is because money is a piece of paper with graphics on it. It can only work if you believe in it. They therefore call it a fiat-based currency. Fiat is a Latin word that means faith. Faith-based. Huh? You understand? 20 years ago, I was telling the government of Uganda and the governments in Africa that instead of backing their reserves, their currency reserves in the central bank, with $1, which is a piece of paper with graphics on it, they should use gold. They should mine their own gold and put it in the central bank. Now, they are saying, yes, that's what they are going to do. But guess what? A few weeks ago, Bank of Uganda, we were having a discussion about this. And they said that white people have said to them, yeah, it's a good idea. Because we also reserve our money with the gold. But we want to keep your gold in Europe. They want Uganda's gold kept where? They want Uganda's gold kept in Europe. There was a country called Venezuela. Have you ever heard of it? Yes. They kept their gold in Britain. A lot of gold. Now, Britain wanted to steal the gold. So what they did, they went and picked a guy on the street called Wayne Guaido. And they said, you are the president of Venezuela. And Venezuelan says, but how come? We have not even elected him. We don't even know that man. They said, no, this is the president. And all the European countries recognized him. And after that, then they said, when Guaido, sign off Venezuelan gold so that you give it to Britain, and that's what happened, and Venezuela lost its gold. I'm telling you, if you want a thief, if you want a robber, if you want a murderer, if you want a hoodwinker, if you want a bamboozler, you are looking at white nations, these white countries, these white governments. That's what they are. They only survive by stealing. They have no other resource other than to steal.